Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, Am I the A-hole for throwing away the expensive whiskey my brother got me for my 40th? I'm 40M, just turned 40 last week. I'm divorced and have 2 teenage kids with my ex-wife, 17M and 14F. My whole family came to my and my GF's apartment last Saturday for my birthday party. My parents, some aunts and uncles, some cousins, my 3 brothers with their families, my 2 kids, and my GF's 15-year-old son who lives with us. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I've been sober for 6 years now. Alcohol absolutely ruined my life. It destroyed my marriage and nuked my relationship with my kids for years. I don't allow alcohol in my home now for anyone. It just isn't served or tolerated here. My entire family knows this very well, as they know my entire history with alcohol. For my 40th birthday, my brother bought me a very expensive bottle of whiskey. It had writing on it, a very heavy bottle, and very old whiskey, so it probably cost him a couple $100. When he gave me the bottle, I was shocked and said, I don't drink, but thanks for the gift. He then opened the bottle and started pouring shots in plastic cups for everyone. My daughter had a panic attack at the smell of the alcohol, which I am painfully aware is my fault and I will never forgive myself for it. So I told my brother to take the alcohol out on the balcony and just leave it there. He wouldn't do it and took a shot of the whiskey. I told him to seriously stop it, and he proceeded to pour the whiskey. He then said I am acting like a sober saint now when I ruined everyone's birthdays for years with my drinking. I told him to come to the hallway with me and talk it out. He refused and put a glass of whiskey in my hand. I took the trash can, threw the whiskey bottle in it and plastic cups, and took the trash out. My brother then stormed off, and my mom followed him. She later called me, demanding an apology for disrespecting my brother like that. My dad said I was being overly sensitive, and some of my other family members also agree. Am I the a-hole here? Comment said, not the a-hole. What your brother did is really, really awful and cruel. Possibly the worst gift I've ever heard of someone giving another, especially as he is aware of your struggles and recovery. Congratulations on recovery and standing up for yourself and your family. Another comment said, not the a-hole. Brother was being horrendously abusive and taunting. Read the room, dude. Especially the pain this caused the kids. Not a situation to double down on your bottle flex. Mom and anyone upset at OP can pound sand and get their juice on their own time. OP should have drain poured it to prevent them from dumpster diving afterwards. I say this as someone who drinks. The level of disrespect shown to OP here is off the charts. NC the lot of them. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister, who's a single mom, my share of inheritance? My, 35 female, last remaining grandmother passed away last month. That side of the family is Jewish, and it's customary to give inheritance to the grandkids in Jewish families. My sister, 27 female, is a single mom of 3, one with special needs. All have different dads, none are in the picture. One is in jail, another was a one-night stand in Vegas, she doesn't even remember his first name, and the other is just an unemployed deadbeat. She's drowning in debt, mostly medical bills for special needs child, and got fired from multiple jobs due to having to always call out due to her special needs child having some medical emergency. She's months behind on rent, but landlord hasn't evicted her because he feels sorry for her. My husband, 42 male, and I are child-free by choice. While we aren't Vanderbilts by any stretch, we do have a comfortable lifestyle. We were going to use my portion of the inheritance for a down payment on a house. We live in an apartment, albeit a nice one, and to treat ourselves to a nice vacation in Europe. I've never been there, but DH has, and I've always wanted to go. My sister's portion of the inheritance will cover some of her debt. She wants to pay off creditors first because they're threatening to take her to court, while the landlord is showing more leniency. But my family is saying I should give her my share of the inheritance because that would cover almost all her debt. She wasn't spending frivolously, it was mostly the mounting medical bills for my special needs nephew. And it's more important than a house because we're fine in our apartment and this is more urgent. I'm no prude or slut-shamer, but bottom line is, my sister was reckless in having unprotected sex with multiple men and getting pregnant by 3 separate ones who for various reasons can't or don't help, and that's not my fault. I don't feel my husband and I should have to sacrifice our dream of being homeowners, which is incredibly hard to do these days, and having to sacrifice this vacation I've always wanted to go on. I was responsible and think I made good choices, and I don't think I should have to suffer consequences for her poor decisions. Am I the a-hole? Comment said, not the a-hole. If you want to be both petty and generous, tell your family you'll match whatever money they give her. They probably won't give any, or at least not much, because it's a lot easier to be generous on someone else's dime. Another comment said, not the a-hole. You aren't responsible for your sister's repeated bad life choices. More importantly, if your grandmother wanted her to have it, she would have put it in her will. Another comment said, this is what I would consider if I were you. If you give your sister your portion of the inheritance, is that giving her a cushion for future monetary issues, or will it be a temporary fix to her long-term financial problems? My point being, this gets her through a year, then she's right back where she was. I'm also against slut-shaming, but the bottom line is we're all personally responsible for our life choices. She gets a reprieve with your inheritance, and you don't get your house or vacation. As another poster mentioned, your grandmother could have given your sister the full inheritance but didn't. There must be a reason. Not the a-hole. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband for a Christmas trip to Hawaii with our kids? Every year, my family spends our Christmas in Hawaii. We've done it every year since I can remember, and it's a fun family tradition for me. After me and my husband had kids, we had to reorganize our family Christmas plans because his parents wanted to see our kids for Christmas. So we decided that we would celebrate Christmas with his parents on New Year's and go to Hawaii for actual Christmas. This is the system that worked for us until last year. Last year, his dad passed away around this time of the year, and it hit him and his mom hard. For obvious reasons, we didn't go to Hawaii. This year, we planned out what we'd do for the holidays early. We'd do Thanksgiving with his mom, and we'd do Christmas in Hawaii since me and the kids missed out last year. Things were going well until right before our flight. About a week out, he said he was unsure. He said that he thinks it might be better that we stay. He said he really wanted to spend Christmas with his family and felt like his mom really needed it. I was unhappy about this. We planned. We saw her last month, and we already had my dad buy our tickets and hotel, so it would be incredibly unfair to me, him, and our kids for us to not go just for his mom, who we'd see a few days after we got back anyways. We got into an argument about it and proposed that me and the kids can go to Hawaii and he can stay there with his mom. He decided to do this, but he was very clearly upset that I wasn't going to forego my family's Christmas tradition and seeing my family just for his mom. So now I'm in Hawaii watching and wrangling the kids by myself while he's home alone. He hasn't texted me or responded to me much. When I call him, he only talks for about 3 minutes before wanting to get off the phone with me and talk to the girls. Am I the a-hole? Comment said, I think not the a-hole because you stayed home the first year after his dad passed away, and you had agreed to the Thanksgiving Christmas arrangement for this year. He changed his mind after all the arrangements were made. However, I think you and your husband need to talk about this more. Where are he and his mom in their grieving processes? How does he envision things working in future years? Does he want every Christmas with his mom now? Does he want to do alternate Christmases? Or is this year just particularly hard for both? Also, is there an option to have your mother-in-law join you in Hawaii since she's on her own? Another comment said, I feel for your husband. He lost his dad a year ago and his mom is spending Christmas without her partner. With plane tickets bought and hotels arranged, a week out is not enough time to change plans. I agree with you about not wanting to cancel and taking the kids to see your family. I do think you need to cut him some slack here, though. The holidays can be really hard for people who have lost loved ones recently. I think you're all doing your best in this situation, and I don't think there is any right answer here. Hopefully your husband can join you next year, and maybe you could have a conversation about that when you get back. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for wanting to bring my cat back into my house after wife's late stillbirth? My wife and I were expecting a child in October. We are in our early 30s and have been trying for a child for some time. Due to character limits, I won't get into details, but it has been difficult. In February, we discovered that she was pregnant. Obviously, we were over the moon with joy. We began to prepare. We did everything you could possibly do to get ready. We planned a baby shower and sent out invitations. We prepared a beautiful room with a custom-made crib by my father-in-law, who is a very talented woodworker, and we were extremely thorough in baby-proofing our home. During the baby-proofing, my wife started to suggest that we get rid of my cat Bubba, who is 12 years old and I've had since he was a kitten. I got him in college, I adopted him, and each of my 2 sisters adopted another kitten from the same litter. Bubba is extremely affectionate to me. So sweet and cuddly. He tolerates my wife, but is not affectionate towards her. To strangers, he is not nice. He's never bitten or scratched anyone, but he does a lot of hissing and yowling at people he's unfamiliar with. My wife was afraid that he'd scare the baby, he wouldn't be welcoming to a newborn, or that he'd hurt her. I argued gently, but eventually acquiesced. In her 28th week of pregnancy, we sent him to live with my parents. He was not happy there. My parents said he cried all day and walked around meowing 24 hours a day looking for me. Tragically, my wife and I lost our child just weeks before she was due. We still don't have a lot of answers, and it's painful to get into. We mourned. We were inconsolable for weeks. I still cannot think about it without feeling complete agony and loss. After a month, we returned to some level of normalcy, as normal as things could be anyway. We've started to explore adoption. Last week, I told my wife I was going to pick up Bubba to bring him back home. She exploded. She said that under no circumstances would she allow him back in our house, and that I had agreed to have him live with my parents. I missed him. He's been my best friend for years. He's been my loyal companion my entire adult life. She told me that I could pretty much choose between her or Bubba. I told her that obviously I would choose her, it's not even a question, but that I didn't understand her reasoning and I felt she was being cruel. She'd lived with Bubba for 10 years and there had never been any problem. The adoption process can take 8 to 12 months on average, and I'd like to spend that time having Bubba around. We haven't spoken about it since. This is the first fight we've had. Am I being unreasonable / the asshole in wanting my cat back? Comment said, not the a-hole. You should never have to get rid of Bubba. I'm sure to you, Bubba is also an important part of the family. Cats hissing is not a sign of violence, but a sign of fear. My sister, who recently had a baby, has a cat who also hisses at strangers, but is cuddly with its owners. Honestly, he can't even tell that her baby is a human at all and only ever sniffs her or avoids her. On top of that, a child will not be afraid of a cat unless they are raised to be or are horribly hurt. A tiny scratch will not traumatize a baby. Another comment said, not the a-hole, but also, I'd like to say that adopting a replacement for the child you are mourning is awful too. I'm that adopted child, and it's crappy. Another comment said, not the a-hole. You miss your cat and want it back. For you, that sits on its own. Your wife is dealing with the loss of the child that was inside of her. The knowledge that it's her body that is preventing that happening again, and I can tell you that no matter how strong everyone is on the "it's not your fault" message, that blame gets internalized anyway, and an uncertain future facing adoption. For her, the return of the cat is linked and could be taken as you are giving up on any future child, especially since, presumably, you'd have to get rid of it again if you did in fact adopt. I think emotions are running high here, and you need to talk through them. Do consider, though, if this is the best for the cat in the long run if you're just going to return it to your parents' house at a future date if adoption is successful. Good luck. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not disclosing I had plastic surgery to my boyfriend? I, 26 female, have been dating Max, 25 male, for 4 months. When I was 22, I had a nose job as I broke my nose twice as a kid, and it left it with a large bump. Then, at 23, I had a breast augmentation that bumped me up 2 cup sizes. These were lifelong insecurities that I was bullied over, and it was really relieving to get them done. On to the present. I met Max through a friend, and things have been great. Last night, I was strolling through my social media while on the sofa with him. I stopped on an old classmate's vacation photo where she wore a bikini and, frankly, had very obvious implants. She looks great, happy for her, but you can tell. Max glanced over at that moment and said, "Gross." I asked him what the deal was, and he said women who get implants or other surgeries are a huge turnoff to most guys, and how men prefer natural over 2 balloons, and how insecure she looked. I couldn't help but laugh and said, "So you're turned off by me?" He got very confused and asked what I meant. I informed him I had procedures done before. He kept denying it and saying I was joking until I showed him old photos of me. He got quiet and left shortly after. I got a text saying I should have disclosed this on the first date, how I led him on and that he needs to reconsider things. It's the next day. Haven't heard anything. I'm bewildered. Am I the a-hole? Comment said, not the a-hole. It certainly wasn't his business on your first date. I'm assuming he's seen your boobs by now, and if he hasn't noticed, I don't know why he cares that much. Another comment said, not the a-hole. You sprung it on him when he was trying to act like women with implants turn him off. Most guys like pretty noses and large breasts whether or not surgery was involved, which is why so much cosmetic surgery is paid for by husbands and boyfriends. He's licking his wounds. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.